All right. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Making this recording this morning on this beautiful Sabbath day, another seventh day of the week. And this morning, I would just like to share with everybody, with my family, my testimony of how I came to the truth in ministry. Okay, how I came to the truth in ministry. And let me start off by saying none of this is rehearsed. None of this is written down or anything. I'm just going to keep it 100 and, be led by the Spirit to say what I say and just to speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Okay. So how I came to the truth in ministry is, back in 2003, that's when I started in ministry. Okay. I realized years before that I had a calling on my life. I ran from the calling, wanted to fit in real bad, things like that. Finally accepted my calling, and in accepting my calling, the Spirit spoke to me and told me that I was going to preach the word. Okay. Started preaching the word in 2003, was under different pastors, different denominations. They was all grooming me. They saw the anointing, they saw the gifts, things like that. So they were all grooming me in different ways, for their different purposes. Right. So what happened about, I want to say 7 to 10 years ago, I want to say 10 years ago, it first started happening. I started questioning things that I was taught. I've been to seminary school, things like that, even earned a doctorate degree through seminary school. Right. And I started questioning the things that I was actually being taught, because I was being really taught by man and wasn't really receiving from the Spirit. Okay. And I'm not saying, when I say that, I'm not saying that you can't be taught anything by a man, but if you're taught by a man, it's the Spirit using a man. So it's actually the Spirit that's teaching you, right? The Spirit is the teacher, not man. Man is just being used, just a tool, right? So when I started questioning what those elders in a certain denomination, especially that I won't name, a certain Christian denomination, I started questioning things because it didn't line up with the word, right? So when I started questioning certain things, I started to notice that they didn't like that at all. They like, who's this young man who would dare question us? Who's this young man who would dare challenge our authority? The founders of this denomination, this is what he said, so this is what it is, and this is what it's going to remain to be, right? So in questioning that, and I did receive some church hurt from it. Now, I'm just going to keep it 100. Like I said, I didn't leave the church due to church hurt, right? Church hurt, I was actually hurt in the church because I was questioning the things that was being put out there. And it's like they had attitudes, you can't question anything that we put out there, okay? I was just merely coming to them very respectfully, right? Okay, I know you said this, but in the word it says this. So I'm like, okay, something's not right here. Something's not lining up. So I didn't start questioning the word. I started questioning the man. So what I started doing is I started diligently doing my own personal study, right? For hours upon hours, taking notes and things like that. What I came to the conclusion of is this. What man was putting out there, they were putting out there from a denominational standpoint, not from the word, not from the truth. Okay. There's the truth, right? There's tradition. Then there's denomination. Okay. The truth is the truth and nothing but the truth, right? Denomination and tradition have its own place, and they both are from man. Okay. And what did the Messiah say? By your tradition, you made the word of Yah of none effect, right? So I started to see that quickly. So in seeing the truth and coming once again to those elders, pastors, bishops, things like that, they refused to receive it. So what I did was I said, okay, now that I know the truth, right? Starting with the Sabbath day, okay? I left the church. I left what we call the Christian church, right? I left. Once I left the church, you talk about doors opening. I was just flooded with the truth, okay? Spirit just flooded me with the truth, right? things I couldn't receive when I was sitting in one of those pews, even sitting up in the pulpit in the church. Okay, so once I learned about the Sabbath, the true Sabbath day, right? I started to learn about feast days, right? Then I started to learn who the true Israelites are. Why the true Israelites, their descendants, are in the condition that they're in now. Started to learn about, more about the Mosaic law and things like that. Started to really be open to Torah, right? So once I received the truth, it was no turning back, okay? So that's why I'm here where I am today, okay? It's not because of church hurt. I was ran out of the church. The Spirit removed me from the church because in the church I wasn't growing, I wasn't learning. I was just being groomed and prepped more and more in tradition. Okay? If I had not left the church, right, if I was still sitting up there in the pulpit, I would not be the man that I am today. I would not be seeking more truth. Okay? I seek truth daily. All right? I love and knowledge puffeth up. So I'm not no puffed up man. Meek Martin for a reason, right? But I just love learning. I just love having a relationship with the Spirit and the things that he's truly showing me about his word. And I'm still answering that calling because I'm still preaching, but I'm also being used to teach, being used to preach and being used to teach. So that's my testimony of how I came into the truth. That's the short version. The long version might take a couple of days, all right? But that's my testimony how I came to the truth in ministry. So does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Like today, when we ask people, well, why come you don't fellowship on a Sunday? On a Saturday. They have all these explanations of why we don't. So for you to challenge man and why, when learning about the Sabbath, how was that for you when you did take that question to them about the Sabbath day?
Okay. All right. Excellent question. And let me tell you right now, that was rough. That was rough. My wife is out there to testify with me. That was rough. I give all glory to the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit, because he gave me, number one, boldness, where with myself, that's not even my personality. Because how I was traditionally trained and groomed in the church was, you don't ask the pastor no questions. Whatever the pastor says, it's got to be the truth and nothing but the truth. If you ask the pastor any question, you're out of order, okay? Not only did the Spirit give me boldness to confront some pastors, but in a certain denomination, which I have a reason for not naming, I asked questions from the jurisdictional bishop. The prelate bishop, how come we do this? And how come it's written that, the Sabbath is not today, right? And he wasn't trying to hear it. They was really talking about excommunicating me, sitting me down, whatever. But at that point, I did not care. So the best thing to do when you confront anybody on that or anything is to pray. Because these men in these denominations, they are well indoctrinated. So if you are not ready and you come to them with a question, although you know it's the truth, right? If you are not sure where in the word it says, they will have you convinced that the person who told you that is lying. My wife, once again, how many times have they tried to make me out to be a liar? Say your pastor don't know what he's talking about. That bald-headed boy don't know what he's talking about. Grown man, they still saying boy. You know what I'm saying? Just like the Pharisees back then, long flowing robes, long beards, walking around like they was all that. They knew everything. Here comes the true Messiah, the creator of all, in the flesh, walking among them, right? They treat him like, who's this boy to dare challenge us? Same thing. So we're going to receive that. That's part of the price for walking in the truth. So I don't know if that answered your question directly or okay. Anybody else?
When you first heard the Spirit, I guess speak to you, or as far as letting you know that you're gonna be preaching one day, how did the Spirit speak to you?
Okay.
Like, was it through another man, or was it through, you know how like when somebody prophesied,
Right.
or was it through like, I don't know, how did you figure that out?
Well, that's an excellent question once again. Okay. I felt I didn't hear his voice at the time tell me that I was going to preach, but I just was feeling a tug. Like every time I would get into the word, it would open up differently to me than what the pastor I was under at that time was saying. So it's almost like when he was preaching, when he would preach different sermons, it's almost like the Spirit was telling me, don't receive that. Don't receive that. And I didn't know why. I'm like, well, but he's a pastor, you know? At that time, that denomination, he was considered a reverend. He's a reverend. I dare not. Spirit was like, no, do not listen to that. That's not the truth. So I'm like, it's almost like, could I be able to preach? Nah, not me. Not me, no preacher. Not no wretch like me, right? So that particular pastor, when I would show him different things, I would wake up, open up the word, and the word would be on certain things, and it always would have to do with preaching, right? And I would be like, wow. And I was sharing that with the pastor. He was like, well, maybe you're going to be a reverend one day. I was like, nah, I still couldn't see it. But then after I had started receiving more spiritual experiences, and, you know, me and him parted ways, and I went to another church that was, you know, where more gifts and things like that was exercised and I could grow more. That pastor also was telling me, he was prophesying and telling me that I was going to preach one day. And I still was like, no, that ain't good enough. I got to be a preacher. I got to hear it straight from the Spirit. And I heard it straight from the Spirit. It was about maybe 9 months later. I heard straight from the Spirit said, yes, you are going to preach. I've been telling you that. But, you know, confirmation. Like I've been telling you that, Martin, you just didn't want to receive it.
Yeah.
Which, of course, the Spirit don't lie. The Spirit was right. He checked me like that because it was the truth. You know, I didn't want to, when I first started out in the Christian church, I started out as a deacon, the head deacon. And I didn't want to be in front of people singing songs and reading scriptures and leading people in prayer and stuff like that. So I definitely didn't want to be no preacher. You see what I'm saying? But hey, it ain't about me. You know, it ain't about me. I found out and I accepted it humbly. Like, okay, Master, this is what you want me to do. I'm going to do it. So yeah, I heard clearly from the Spirit. And man was trying to tell me, but I just couldn't. Just hearing it from man wasn't good enough. And the Spirit knew that, so he let me know personally. Then he showed me in a miraculous way. I told you about the doorbell thing, didn't I? Yeah, then he definitely showed me in that miraculous way what I was going to be doing. So does that answer your question? Okay.
When did you realize that Sundays wasn't a day? What made you start thinking about the Sabbath day? Like Sundays was just, was it that things wasn't going right on Sunday churches? Like you kept running into different problems at different churches? Was that you know that something ain't right about these Sundays? You know, like it's why things weren't going right for you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question too. That something started not to feel right once I started getting in the Word for myself and studying for myself, because I would tell y'all this, at the church where me and my wife met many years ago, right? There was a man, an older man than me, about 20 years older than me, something like that. He was an older man and he was teaching a Sunday school class, right? And it was a class supposed to be just for senior citizens, right? But I don't remember how, but I ended up sitting in that class with the senior citizens, right? Instead of with the, you know, the younger adults, right? So when I was sitting under the class, one day, one Sunday morning, he called and said he wasn't going to be able to make it to church. And he said, can you teach the class? And I was nervous as all get up, but I just could not tell him no. You know, something in my spirit it's like I could not say no, right? So I agreed to teach the class, and I started teaching the Sunday school class, and you know, my wife once again can co-sign. They said I did very well, you know, teaching the seniors. And these were people who had been sitting under the word, you know, 40, 50 years. You know what I'm saying? But they saying, man, young man, you break that word down well, you know. So as I was getting training, I was studying deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And one day I was just doing some studying, and I really thought Sunday was the Sabbath day. Till doing some studying, I was like, okay, the seventh day of the week. And I happened to glance at the calendar, and I was like, well, wait a minute. That's not the seventh day of the week, you know? So that right there started me to question some things like, okay, wait a minute. Then I went to somebody who was raised Catholic, somebody in my family. And you know what they told me? They said, yeah, it used to be Saturday. It used to be the seventh day of the week. But they changed it, and we changed it for our benefit. And I was like, wow, really? And it's like, yeah. So I started doing some studying and seeing, you know, things that the Catholic Church did, and found out that they admitted what they did. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't do this no more. But that's what opened the door up for when I would go to people with it, they would really bash me, you know, because in my experience, I can't speak for nobody else out there, but in my experience, anytime you're not recognizing Sunday as the Sabbath day, as a day of rest, the day you're supposed to go to church, day of worship, right? People automatically want to feel that, oh, you're not a follower of Jesus. You don't believe in Jesus. Jesus rose early Sunday morning, which we know he didn't, right? But they go with that, and they automatically want to revile you and cast you away of their company, reject you, because they feel that you're not a follower of the Messiah. You know, you don't recognize his resurrection. But then when you come to them, okay, well, if y'all have been taught, like I was once taught, he was crucified on a Friday afternoon, right? How do you get 3 days from that? When he said himself he'd be in the grave, in the ground, in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights, 72 hours. How do you get from Friday afternoon, Saturday, early Sunday morning? How did that, come on, do the math. You know what I mean? We've went over that before. But that right there really opened up my eyes to some things too, where I realized that this ain't the truth. So doing my own study, you know, we've been over it several times in lessons. You know, no turning back now once again. Once again. So does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? No. Everybody good? All right. Hallelujah. Well, this is my testimony how I came into the truth, you know, as a preacher of the word. And, you know, for anybody who says that, you know, preachers aren't needed and pastors aren't needed, you know, you need to go to the word. Okay, you need to go to the word, and the word does not say that. All right. All right. So with that being said, Meek Martin, Born Again, Raised Again Ministries. Shalom.